Welcome to Let's Live Clean, the podcast that shares the best sustainable living tips and advice from pioneers across the spectrum. This series, we've been exploring waste and how we can turn it to our advantage. From wasted crises to wasted connections, and today it's all about wasted opportunities, how to spot the potential in what we overlook, and how rethinking waste can open up new ways of living, growing and connecting. I'm Georgina Wilson-Powell, author of Is It Really Green? And I'm passionate about uncovering the most impactful ways we can all live cleaner, greener lives. Today we're talking about wasted opportunities. Those moments, ideas or resources that slip past unnoticed. The ones we don't act on that could have led somewhere extraordinary. We've all felt it, the idea scribbled down but never pursued, the connection that might have changed something. In a world that prizes productivity, we often don't value our potential enough, and we've lost that connection with our potential to be in harmony with nature. But what if opportunity isn't just about luck, it's about attention, about slowing down enough to see what's already right in front of us? My guest today has built a platform and a community around this very idea of helping people rediscover their connection to the natural world and the wisdom it holds for how we learn, live and grow. Christabel Reed is the co-founder of Earthed, an online and offline learning community that helps people reconnect with nature through education, experience and action. Earth brings together teachers, farmers, gardeners and activists from all over the world, sharing knowledge on soil, seeds, biodiversity and regeneration. Christabel's work explores how we can learn with nature, not just about it. Her background in yoga, community building and systems thinking shapes her approach to creating collective learning spaces that help people and planet thrive. From founding the pioneering Adavaya platform to launching Earthed, Christabel has shown how ideas can grow into movements when we nurture them, and how opportunity flourishes when we slow down, listen and connect. Christabel, welcome to Let's Live Clean. I'm so excited to talk to you about your journey and the idea of wasted opportunities that you've built Earthed around. So welcome. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, let's start with the idea behind Earthed. Can you tell us what it is and what inspired you to create it, first of all?
Yeah, so we launched Earth 2 years ago, and it was kind of the culmination of a lot of the lessons that my sister and I, Ruby, had learned through the development of Advaya, which is an organization we still run today, and also through a campaign called Eco-Resolution. Advaya is very focused on giving people the opportunity to explore the interrelationship between mental health and environmental health, between restoring your inner landscapes and your outer landscapes. But it can stay very much in the conceptual, abstract, inquiry, academic. Like, it's very sort of juicy and wonderful, but it's not always so practical. And we then, with Cara Delevingne, launched something called Eco-Resolution, during our times working very closely with Extinction Rebellion. And this was around like amplifying climate action and utilizing social media in a way that wasn't really being utilized that well at the time, in order to get people really engaged in the many ways that they could have an impact for climate and ecological health. But through this campaign, and we got the likes of Kim Kardashian and Jack Black and Reese Witherspoon and all these brilliant, like incredible people with leveraging their huge platforms, we actually got really sort of cringed out by the narrative and the campaign, because it was staying so surface level, where the sort of pledges, the hashtag My Eco Resolutions that everyone was doing was very much around not going to fly, not going to buy, not going to eat this, not going to eat that. And obviously these things that we do are so important. It's not that they're not important. It's just that it's such a sort of small, it feels like such a surface level approach to the full way in which we can step into our potential to be ecological citizens. And so yeah, I mean, I'll stop going on now, but essentially that was the sort of thinking that led us up to Earthed. And whilst we were running Eco-Resolution, you know, what I really realized was we were trying to raise awareness around climate and ecological crisis. And what I felt was like, actually, people really get that we're facing crisis. What they don't understand is what they can do, and what they don't have access to are practical, tangible solutions that go beyond sort of consumer-based shifts. And at the same time, we were also working a lot with Indigenous communities and like sort of wisdom holders and people who are very like established in biocultural knowledge. And my sister and I realized that, you know, all the solutions or most of the solutions that we need already exist, but they are being lost as these beautiful cultures are being deteriorated through, you know.
Yeah, and actually, that's something I really resonated while I was running Pebble magazine, because a lot of the time you're telling people not to do something. You've got to give something up. You've got to stop doing something, stop buying something. And actually, like you said, most people are aware of what they shouldn't be doing. They might not actually be doing it, but they're aware. But having that practical tools to do something positive over and above buying something, I think is really, really important, and something that you guys have tapped into amazingly. I know from my own experience, like, you know, I'm trying to grow lots more veg in the garden, and sort of create a sort of, you know, biodiverse back garden. And actually my skills only run so far. So it's fantastic to have a portal where you can go and learn from people all over the world,
Yeah.
that are pioneers in their own field. But for someone who hasn't experienced Earth before, what's the sort of entry point? What can they expect?
Yeah, so it essentially runs a bit like a masterclass, but for nature. And for free, you can access courses on transforming your garden in urban areas, doing everything from like worm farming to food growing, to transforming your balcony. You can learn about river restoration, soil regeneration, regenerative agriculture, and many, many, many different things. We really have tried to sort of span a lot of different ecosystems and access points. And we're currently upskilling over 17,000 people in 102 countries. And the majority of our audience is sort of 18 to 35-year-olds, not exclusively at all, but that is our main audience. And it's been a real beautiful journey to feel into the receptivity of people wanting to take beautiful, joyful action for themselves and their community.
That's it. And it obviously has a ripple effect wherever they are doing their own actions, but coming together to learn. Do you feel like that was an opportunity that you guys really felt like wasn't being explored by anyone else? Because I don't see, like, masterclass is a really good analogy, but you're right, this needs to exist, and I don't think it did exist before Earth.
No, it doesn't. And like, not def, I mean, you can definitely learn about permaculture and all these things. Of course, there's like amazing different educational centers and teachers doing that, but not in a way that's sort of centralized, but like offering a diversity of different approaches, and not in a way that's free and accessible. So our courses are only like an hour to an hour and a half long, and they're down into 5-minute modules, so making it super accessible. Someone said to me when we were building it, they're like, but why would someone try and do it online if they could do it in person? I just said this amazing permaculture course, and I was like, how much was it? And they were like, £3,000. And how long did it take? 3 weeks. And I was like, well, that's the problem. Most people don't have £3,000 to put towards a permaculture course, let alone the 2 or 3 weeks that you need to go and do it and travel there, etc. So yeah, it's really about removing the barriers to entry for positive, like, life affirming action.
Definitely. And I did a big permaculture course a couple of years ago, and literally had to cross the country to do it
Yeah.
every 2 weeks, which again wasn't that sustainable.
No.
So yeah, I think it's fantastic, that accessibility. You've talked before about sort of the power of learning from the natural world rather than about it, and I think that is something really wonderful with Earth, that it's not a kind of top down, here is nature, but it's separate to you kind of learning. It's very much like hands in the ground kind of learning. Was that come from your own journey, your own experiences?
I think it's come from what I've really been lacking, and what I still honestly I don't feel like I'm lacking today as well, is this cognitive dissonance between our ability to advocate, communicate, like engage in activism, asking these traditional centers of power, banks, businesses, governments, to restore the natural world and to take climate action. But actually, in our own lives, do we know how to restore soils? Do we know how to restore rivers? Do we know how to do rainwater harvesting? Are we trying to do any of these things? And, being in these official spaces like COP, I suddenly got this really weird feeling. I'm like, we're asking for these things to happen, but even if the government and banks and businesses tomorrow turned around and they did all the things that we know they should be doing in order to create the kind of scalable change needed, you know, if that regenerative world was created, would we even be able to maintain it? I don't think we would, because we don't have the skills to do so. And so we keep putting our power somewhere else. And of course, we need banks, businesses, and governments to be taking radical action. But I think that we forget that actually it is also our duty, like a sacred, joyful duty, to get our hands in the soil and be participating in the ecosystems that we are a part of. That's the way that indigenous communities and local communities have lived forever. And there's this sort of, I don't know, I sometimes find it like a bit of like a teenager mentality of waiting for everyone else to
Yeah.
do the things that you're asking them to do, and then getting really angry when it's not happening. But it doesn't make sense.
No, and there is this idea, well, not idea, maybe it's more of a feeling, that it is someone else's problem. We're all waiting for somebody else to fix it. And I think that thing about maintenance is really important, because we all want to move to a net zero future. We want a more sustainable planet, but we don't really have a clear idea of what that looks like day to day. And you're right, do we have the skills to maintain community gardens? Do we have those skills? And there is a sense of skills being lost over generations of things that we used to have that knowledge innately on how to grow vegetables, how to have herbs, how to use them for medicinal purposes, and all that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
this is fantastic. Are you? Did you start with any area in particular, and sort of the knowledge has broadened outward in a way that you didn't expect, or has it been quite an organic sort of rollout?
Our vision for Earth has been so big from the start that we like started in a super intense way, and we've like produced 40 courses. So we've still got another 20 that we're like slowly releasing out. But yeah, it's really about centering the wisdom of people who know what it means to live in harmony with their ecosystems, and to do so in a way that is preserving, celebrating, and making accessible traditional ecological knowledge. And it's this piece that I feel is being really lost. It's like the acknowledgement that the crises that we're facing is a very new phenomenon. It's born out of our economy, a culture of convenience, like a mass disempowerment, a lack of faith in ourselves and in each other. These the sort of the narratives that are like binding our minds and separating us from nature and from each other. So I think what I find very, very powerful is the space in between, or sort of the idea of nature restoration as cultural practice. And can you find in your local areas the ways in which people used to be engaging in their local environments, and can we preserve that? And so in that way, as we are working to restore our local environments, we're also cultivating a sense of belonging and connection and meaning within the local community. And I think this is something that I'm turning around in my head a lot at the moment, especially in reflection of the sort of political landscape across the world at the moment, and this idea that the import, like trying to understand the role of culture and ancestry and tradition in taking us forwards in like beautiful connected ways that respect local cultures and each other. Because I think it's one of the scarier sides of the environmental movement are these very globalized top-down ideas that there's one kind of solution, and
Yeah.
it's not. It's going to be through a diverse sort of tapestry of action across the world that is rooted in culture and rooted in community.
Absolutely. It can't, there is no silver bullet. It's not just going to be a magic off switch that we somehow discover. So I absolutely agree. And is that something that you've picked up and sort of developed in terms of your own journey? Because obviously you've come from a sort of yoga background, which again is about that sort of, celebrating and building on, indigenous knowledge. And very rooted in community practice. And I guess has that sort of become a larger part of what you've been interested in?
Yeah, it's funny in sort of different spaces I find myself, and people say like, "Oh, what's your background and what brought you to this work?" And I also to be like, "Yoga," and being a yoga therapist. Yeah, the practice of yoga and of meditation helped me to expand my perspective of myself, of who I am, and of my relationship with the world around me. I started practicing because I really struggled with anxiety, and it was sort of the first time after my teen years that I felt like a real sort of relief and an ability to really sort of, yeah, be able to transform that anxiety that I always felt in my body. Um, and yeah, the practice has been a very, like a deeply empowering journey where I realized that what I did to myself, I did to others, what I did to others, I did to myself, and essentially sort of stepping into like more of a non-dualist understanding of existence and our role within it.
Amazing. And then you're bringing that sort of wider wisdom to a lot more people, and what I'm interested in is the sort of the breadth of that indigenous wisdom that actually you guys are bringing forward via Earth, and access to some of these cultures that perhaps people might not have come across before or don't know anything about or want to learn more. Has that Have you always known which sort of cultures you wanted to sort of bring forward, or has it been a kind of opportunities and discovery and one thing leading to another?
Yeah, definitely the latter. And I mean, we do so much within Advire as well. And we've been doing a lot around sort of like ancient Greek mythology and like the cults of Dionysus, looking at like rave ritual and revolution. I mean, it's super broad what we explore through Earth and Advire. And so it's like a lot is sort of contemporary cultures, local cultures, indigenous cultures, but also ancient cultures as well. Because yeah, we can learn a lot from our history if we really try and apply ourselves. I mean, I've been reading some of the works of like Thomas Crowther recently, and he talks about how looking back in history, the collapses of civilizations have been the result of those civilizations destroying nature to the point where nature isn't able to support the civilization anymore. And it's not funny, but it's ridiculous that we have all of these historical facts that we can go back to, and yet we are still perpetuating the same stupid mistakes again and again and again. And I think it's that sort of feeling that I get as frustrated and excited about with humanity. It's like, wow, like we are evolving collectively so slowly. But I'm also like deeply passionate and in love with our human potential and our collective potential together. So yeah, Earth and Advire really sort of like our explorations of how do we unlock our human potential to step into like the happiest, most vibrant, most connected versions of ourselves, and to be able to unlock our potential as ecological citizens, as active agents within the ecosystems that we're connected within.
I mean, that is not easy work. Let's just say that, especially in
But
this
it's
time.
fun.
Yeah, but it is fun, and I definitely want to talk to you more about civilizational collapse, maybe on another time. But yeah, a lot of those ancient cultures actually does go back to, like as you said, nature not supporting them anymore because they do what we are currently doing.
Hmm.
But do you think that kind of that joyful existence, that happy, active eco citizens, that all starts with the soil, that all starts with understanding what's underneath your feet, how to regenerate it, how to grow with it? And that is, what kind of feedback are you getting from people that start their journeys with Earth, that are doing the courses, that literally start getting their hands dirty? Is it a revelation for them? Is it building on knowledge they already have, or is it building confidence? Because I know that's something I struggled with in the past, not feeling like I knew enough to start growing.
I think the feeling, I think the big thing with Earth is about increasing people's confidence. People are
Mm.
coming to Earth to understand that there's a climate and ecological crisis, and they want to participate in being part of like the solution. what's been really amazing about Earth is we did like a survey of 9,000 of our members earlier this year, and like we asked why have they joined, and the first one is to restore nature, which was good because that's why we exist.
Yeah.
But the second one was to increase their sense of well-being, and this I found really, really interesting because with Advaya, we've always spoken about the interrelationship between ecological health and personal health and social health. But when we started 10 years ago with Advaya, that was a pretty niche idea. And over the years, like that's become super mainstream and very obvious and clear. But what I find amazing about Earth in that survey is that there's nowhere on the website talks about what, like personal well-being or personal health or connection. Like we really are very like, this is how you restore this is how you do this.
Yeah, it's very practical led, isn't it?
Super practical. And I just love that like the majority of our audience is 18 to 35 year olds, and they understand that by restoring their local environments, they are going to cultivate a deeper sense of well-being and connectedness within themselves. And that to me is such a sign, like we're just talking about evolution of our evolution of our understanding of ourselves and our relationship with nature. Because I don't think that 10 years ago, if we'd asked 9,000 of like our members with in the same demographic, that people would have come forward to say that. So yeah, I would say definitely building confidence to restore nature, but I think the deeper urge is about cultivating greater well-being and connectedness.
Definitely. I was going to ask actually, because obviously there's been so much evidence to support the other side of that, which is, feeling disconnected from nature and feeling powerless, because so much of what we talk about when we talk about climate change or climate collapse, whatever, it is so global, meta, huge that we feel unable to participate. But do you think there are other barriers that are stopping people seeing those opportunities to reconnect with nature? Is it just accessibility? Is it that culturally we still, or previously perhaps, have pushed it away as something other? Like we have sort of othered the idea of nature. And what I love about Earth is you bring that back and make us a part of it. But have you seen there be other barriers for people to sort of connect?
Definitely. There's so many. I mean, the ones that Earth is trying to remove is access to the skills, to community support, and eventually, hopefully, to resources as well, as we're able to build a fund. But the other totally critical ones are time, access to land, like access to nature. These things are huge. And I think, the reality is that a lot of us aren't able to slow down and get or have the mindset shift where we realize like it's something that our spirits and hearts are calling for us to be connecting with nature. Like that's not something that everyone is feeling for, and then even when they are, it's not something that you can easily access if you're going to work every day and you're raising a family and you live in a city like that. It can be hard to be able to find that, but I think like a big piece is around the ability to actually connect when you are in those places, because like you can walk through a park, or like you can stare at a flower, like you can do all these things, but if you are trapped in your mind and in like a feedback loop of negative thought or whatever, like of just thoughts, our mundane minds, or my mundane mind, going round and round and round. Like I think a big piece is actually that most of us don't have the tools to be able to get super present and into that, and into cultivate presence when in nature, which is really when you can start to feel the impacts. And then the other piece is, okay, well, having that presence and that sense of enchantment, but also walking through a park is one thing, but actually being able to watch food grow and watch plants grow and be participating in that journey, I think that's really when more powerful nature connection can occur.
Definitely. And talking of slowing down and pausing, we're just going to pause for a quick ad and then we'll be right back. In this episode, we explore how wasted potential can be turned into something meaningful. That's exactly what Ecover are doing in their factories, making them as close to zero waste as possible. From recycling water to reusing byproducts, every process is designed to keep materials in play and waste out of landfill. Because wasted potential doesn't just live in ideas, it lives in the way we make things too. I think it's really interesting what you were saying there about slowing down and pausing. I actually found until I started trying to identify what I was seeing walking through a forest or next to a hedgerow or out in a field, that really helped me slow down, because I was like, okay, what is that flower? What is that herb? What is that leaf? And you start looking at all the patterns and you're trying to identify it and things. And just by doing that, you suddenly realize that actually what you're not seeing is a wall of green. You're actually seeing like 25 or 30 different plants and species and bumblebees and everything else. And just having that knowledge, even just a little bit of knowledge, when I started, I could recognize like maybe two things. But actually building that up and kind of going, okay, I now know what that is, and that's a herb, and that's a shrub, and da, da, da. And that's really helped me sort of not just charge through the park, on the way to the next meeting or to get home to make dinner or whatever it is. So yeah, I love the idea that bit of knowledge really helps your sort of connection and slowing down. Where do you, before we sort of dive back into earth, where do you go for sort of a bit of nature connection and sort of slow? Where's your sort of happy space in nature?
I've been moving around a lot recently, and my partner and I are in between places. So we've been staying at my mum's in Twickenham, and there is the river is at the end of her garden, and so I've been doing my chanting practice when I'm doing my practice. I'll be doing it down there, and yeah, that's been wonderful. And she's done so many beautiful things in her garden this over the spring and summer as well. So there's that, and parks, and yeah, and then I do travel quite a bit as well. So I feel like I get pretty wonderful opportunities. But I mean, Earth and Advaya have been a lot of work. It's a very, Advire's 10 years old, but really it's in a constant startup phase. Like, we're just learning all the time and iterating all the time. And so the reality is that my days are sort of often like 10 to 14 hours on a laptop. And I actually think, like, for me, a big piece is like the reason why like yoga meditation practice has been so powerful is that like I'm daily orienting myself to my like interrelationships with the world around me, and to like loving them and appreciating them, and sort of being enchanted by them, and that really helps me sort of get through. So I'm actually like not so much of an outdoorsy person, but I feel like I like that just the knowing of that is very much within me. And we're actually moving to the country soon, which is really exciting.
Oh, that would be amazing. Well, obviously you can put earth into practice.
Exactly.
And talking of sort of sitting on a laptop all day, I mean, part of the opportunities that Earth has grown into is that you have just come out of your first big festival, your first big conference. And as someone that was putting those on a few years ago, I know how stressful they can be. But what was the difference bringing people together in person? Like, what did you learn, and what was great to see?
Yes, we did the Earth Summit a month ago, and we had over 1,000 people come and 50 different speakers, and we had musicians like Cosmo Sheldrake and Face Soul and Groove Armada played, and the whole idea was, let's bring people together and celebrate the movement, like bring the movement together, make it like open, like accessible, exciting, and basically just celebrate together and learn together. In-person events is how Ruby, my sister, and I started Advaya. We did around 250 events before we ever did anything online. And we've been like figuring out the online space for the past 3-4 years, or 5 years actually now. So coming back to doing in-person events, and this one at a scale we'd never done before, which I thought was just going to be like, oh, the same amount of work, but just more people. And it was not. It was insane. I think I'm still recovering. But Yeah, so the in-person element of our work is really important and something that we're going to be spending a lot more time on. I think people need to have the opportunity to connect in person, and not for one moment do I ever think that online learning and online sort of networks ought to ever replace the in person. I think they're like a sort of mycelium, like a sort of a resource and a library that you can always have access to continue your personal learning journey, but really learning to restore nature together, celebrating together, connecting together in person, in place is absolutely like essential for real transformation.
And it must have given you a huge sense of pride and achievement, hopefully, by seeing what you've created, bringing people together. I mean, the people attending also must have got a lot out of it, meeting other people on that journey, because growing can be quite a lonely journey, or regeneration could be quite a lonely journey.
Definitely. And what was wonderful is I think 70% of our audience were like under 38. Not that I've got any issue with being over 38, but it's just nice because often the growing nature spaces can be a much older demographic. And I was a bit worried because we were doing it on a Thursday in the daytime. It was like a 16-hour event. I was suddenly like, what have I done? Who's going
There's
to be
always that
there?
point in event management when you're like, oh God.
Yeah, our brilliant marketing head of marketing was on maternity, or is on maternity, and a month before we'd only sold 40 tickets, and we needed to get to 1,000 to basically break even. So I was pulling my hair out. But no, the sense of relief and pride and afterwards was really wonderful, and yeah, we'll be doing many, many more.
Amazing. And do you, in terms of in person and online, do you measure the sort of impact of all of the Earthed community? Do you sort of, I know you said you've got sort of 17,000 people, which is incredible, but can you track what they are doing to the Earth in any way? That would be really interesting to know.
Yeah, that's hard because we are providing access to skills, but like not like we don't know,
Yeah.
what people then do with it. But that's what part of the reason why we launched these challenges. So we this year we did the Great British Bee Challenge, and the year before we did a guerrilla gardening challenge. And in these we partner with festivals and brands to sort of gamify and incentivize people not just to join, but then to also show
Yeah.
us what they did. So the bee challenge that we did this year, we reached like over 30 million people, and then we had over 1,000 people plotting their pollinator pit stops on restore.eco, this
Amazing.
amazing nature restoration like platform. Um, and so yeah, we'll be doing more of that because yeah, otherwise you don't always know. But
Yeah.
I mean, what I found with this is like I was with Charles Dowding when we were filming the Charles Dowding course, but it wasn't until a year later that I actually had a garden, and so then I started to use the skill. So I think even if we were to be tracking, you just don't know. Once you learn something, it lives within you, and you don't know when you're going to like actually sort of step into that new potential that you've just learned about. Yeah.
Absolutely. For like the 6 years that I ran Pebble magazine, I didn't have any space, like none.
Yeah.
And it's only years later that, now got a garden, and yeah, all of those things that you kind of pick up by osmosis and do the courses, and you're like, oh, I think I know what to do. We'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Do you think the courses and Earth really help people take a look at sort of underutilized space? So do you think it gives people more confidence to join like community gardens, or perhaps start their own project to tackle something that hasn't been done before?
Definitely. Most of our audience live in urban areas, and so that and very like into guerrilla gardening and urban growing. So for sure. And actually, we are at the moment incubating a new program called Pollinate Together, which is where Earth is going to be working with councils, hopefully, and local businesses and local communities and schools in order to transform disused pieces of land into community orchards and community gardens. So we're working to get the sort of funding and support we need for that. But that's going to be a huge sort of new area of our focus. Is for 2 years we've been running Earth. We've got this amazing community. We want to continue growing that, but we also want to now be facilitating place-based restoration and doing more sort of hand-holding through the process of transformation of these areas that are totally neglected, overlooked, and in areas of London or areas of other cities where we have sort of big nature deprivation.
Absolutely. Another one of our guests on another episode was Flora, who started the Pollinator Pathway project in
Oh yeah,
Bristol.
so
So
cool.
very similar on the sort of taking degraded land and helping communities sort of regenerate it. So yeah, I think there is that need that we need to bring nature into us, isn't it? It's not about like traveling to the countryside. It's about making the best of what you've got and regenerating what you've got. In this journey of Earth, is there one opportunity that you nearly missed, or is there something perhaps you nearly didn't do, and actually you're very pleased that you did?
I mean, I think starting Earthed was a
Just that small thing, yeah.
yeah. We were already running a business like Advire, a small, struggling, transformative learning business, and we just saw that there was this gap and that we needed to create something else and something that was fully focused on practical application of the knowledge that we were sort of exploring with Advire. But at that time in particular, Advire, we were finding ourselves falling into these like binary, polarizing narratives, and we thought that actually that's an important place to be, and we don't want to just sort of like remove ourselves from that space. These are important conversations that need to happen, but we felt like therefore we need something that's just totally like, no matter where you sit on any spectrum, you can just come here and comfortably learn how to grow and restore. Like
Yeah,
that's it.
and that is that tight
Yeah.
focus as well. And what I like is that you don't beat people over the head with the big stuff. It's like,
No,
we're just going to get on. We're going
just
to
get
get
on
on
with
and
it.
learn.
Yeah, which I think is really needed, and so I think that was a big opportunity that we nearly missed, and now we're really going to be working to actually bring the two together again, so that they can support each other, and that Avaya can essentially support Earth to be able to grow and expand now.
In this episode, we talk about spotting potential where others see nothing. Ecover did the same in their Too Good to Waste range, turning potato peels, leftover beer, and rescued fruit into powerful cleaners, showing that waste can be turned into something worth celebrating. Because whether it's ideas, people, or potato skins, waste is just opportunity in disguise. For listeners that sort of feel stuck or unsure of where to start, what would your advice be to them sort of acting on the opportunities perhaps that they can for change? Is there, I don't just mean sort of like practically, but is there sort of a sort of mindset shift needed to sort of better spot opportunity and sort of get on with things?
Lila June Johnson is this absolutely incredible Dene musician, teacher, thinker, and her key message is that humans are a keystone species. We are absolutely born to be ecosystem engineers, biodiversity builders, community mobilizers. We've just lost our way, and we've lost that deep knowing and that deep understanding. So I would really recommend cultivating that knowing within yourself. I think it's the most powerful step. And then the second is sort of something that I've really learned with through John Alexander and his book Citizens, is that step out of the narrative of subject, or step out of the narrative of the consumer, and remember that you are a citizen, and from my perspective, an ecological citizen. And I think in these ways we can go beyond the feeling of like, okay, I'm going to do this little thing over here and then just this little thing over there, but actually being able to embrace like your full being and your full potential, and doing so in a way that is rooted in joy, and in freedom and in connectedness, rather than seeing environmentalism as some sort of chore or obligation. And I like definitely think that the consumer-based choices are absolutely critical. So it's not me saying that they're not. It's just like, let's not stop there, because actually there is a whole world of being, which can also help us reconnect with our own sort of health, well-being, and with our communities.
Definitely. And I think that sense of joy, which I know you sort of referenced a few times, and I totally agree, is missing in a lot of sustainable communications and a lot of consumer action. You know, no one gets excited about doing the recycling, or very few people.
Yeah.
But yeah, finding that joy in being together and living in that full potential is definitely a huge part of the communication that needs to be brought forward. What in line with that, sort of very quickly, sort of what is one small opportunity that people can overlook at home that could make a big impact? And I'm thinking sort of less the consumer side of things, but maybe it's window box growing, or it's herb growing, or what do you sort
Yeah.
of suggest with people?
So I might get this figure wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's like 70% of households in the UK have got access to a garden. And I think often, we were talking about before, we were sort of waiting for governments or banks to do the nature restoration. But actually, if people were to see their gardens as these hotspots for wildlife and to be able to connect those up with their neighbours, that would be a huge opportunity. So I would definitely say that.
Definitely. And we sort of touched on it earlier, but what's one daily habit that helps you stay connected? Is it the daily practice? Is it yoga? Is it just being with family? What helps you?
For me, it's really slowing down, breathing and stretching, and it doesn't need to be like an hour long sort of traditional yoga practice, but just taking some time in the morning to reset that. And I find prayer very powerful as well for me.
Nice. Love it. And lastly, how do you personally make sure that opportunities don't go to waste? Are you sort of always looking? I mean, I know how important it is to find those opportunities to kind of keep charities going and grow them with your community. Is it kind of being open-minded to what comes your way?
Yeah, I think if anything I could do with letting some opportunities go to waste. I mean, I think my passion and drive is so strong. Like, I think I often feel like all I am is like intuition, drive, and passion. And so, like, not much going on up here, but just like a lot going down
Well,
of
there's a lot of
emotion.
movement.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, staying connected to your purpose is like, for me, what means that like I just don't let those opportunities go, and I can see them, and I know how they're connected to like the greater mission. That and strangely, I also want to say cultivating of real friendships within the space, because you can have these like calls and ideas crop up, but like, if unless you're really in a friendship or like some kind of like real relationship with someone, the opportunities for collaboration can just like come and go. But when you actually have that connection with them, I think that's when things can take the time that they need to come to the fore. So yeah, I am a big believer in cultivating of true friendships within the environmental space.
Yeah, well, also really important for all of the things that you've also been talking about, doing it with people, building those sort of trust and confidence and everything, building the community. It relies on those deep friendships. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today and telling us more about Earth and everything that you have achieved so far, and talking us through everything. For people that want to go and try it, where's best to kind of find you guys?
Yeah, you can go to earth.co, either on Instagram or online, to access our membership and all the courses. And you can also go to advaya.life in order to explore like the transformative learning journeys we do there.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
So what have we learnt today? That opportunity, like nature, is cyclical. It comes around again if we know how to nurture it. Christabel has showed us what that looks like. That slowing down, paying attention, and learning from nature can turn missed chances into moments of transformation. And just like Ecover's approach to rethinking waste, Earth reminds us that nothing is ever truly lost. It's just waiting to be rediscovered, repurposed, and revalued. And like Christabel said, if you'd like to explore more about Earthed and find out how you can join their learning community, head to earthed.co. And for more ideas on topics such as the circular economy meets the social economy and how our most unlikely resource could feed the future, visit ecover.com for longer, deeper dives that can really fuel your thinking. And that's it from us for this episode of Let's Live Clean. Next time, we'll continue our journey through waste from what's lost to what's found, uncovering more ways to live in balance with the world around us. Follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join the conversation at ecover.com. See you next time on Let's Live Clean.